Hello and welcome to Maxim Foods Inside Track. Today I'm proudly wearing the Brisbane Lions scarf. Congratulations to the Brizzy Lions trumping Sydney Swans there last Saturday in the AFL Grand Final. Brisbane has been a buzz ever since. We're pretty fickle supporters up here. Normally a rugby league state, but when the Brisbane Lions are doing well, everyone, including myself, likes to buy a scarf and get on board the bandwagon. So well done to the Lions, and hope they can do it again in 2025. Let's have a look at the dairy industry. Having a look at whole milk powder, so if we're looking at the supply side, a really good August for New Zealand in milk growth on last year, and then September another really good month as well. So a really great start to the season, so supply hasn't been an issue. There was a bit of a concern whether the market would soak up that extra volume, but they certainly have. A good spread of demand across all the markets, Middle East, Southeast Asia, and China sitting at about 50% of participation on the GDT has really helped keep that whole milk powder pricing firm. So against a lot of expectations, people were thinking that with the new season coming on, a great bumper start to the season, more milk would lead to a bit of an ease in pricing. However, this hasn't been the case, so some good positive results for the farmers. Having a look at skim milk powder, so skim was flat on the GDT last night, still reasonably buoyant in the EU, and non-fat in the US reasonably firm as well. So we're sitting at about 5-year averages on skim milk powder. So if you were to take a conservative view as a buyer, it is a reasonable time to buy, but generally things are quite even in the skim market. Once again, butterfat is probably the most topical of the commodities. We spoke last time on the Inside Track regarding the EU situation. Butterfat still very tight in the EU. Demand has waned a little, but off a very high peak. So it doesn't seem as though these higher prices has really hit any consumer or end user demand. People still buying. Still in that busy time of Christmas period as well for the industrial side of things, the ingredient users. So demand and supply still very much out of whack in the EU, so pricing remaining high, but not as frantic as we've seen it in the last month. In the US, the pricing settled a little bit as well, but once again it has been quite frantic, moving at a frantic pace, the butter market in the US. So things have eased a little, however still historically high pricing. If you look over in Australia and New Zealand, a reasonably flat result for both butter and AMF on the GDT, still at historical highs. We would see that this demand will continue into Christmas, especially in Australia, so we would see pricing to remain firm well into Q1 of next year. Having a look at cheese, the ever volatile US market, have seen some relief on pricing on the CME into next year. So we may see some pricing easing off into Q1. If you look at the EU, pricing still firm, consumption is good, and so a more firmer outlook for the EU on cheese. Australia and New Zealand, some really good demand in North Asia, particularly Japan, Korea, for cheese at the moment, so especially for New Zealand and Australian cheese. So that has helped lifted pricing on cheddar. Also domestically, leading up into Christmas, that food service and retail demand will continue to thrive. So pricing looks, the market for cheese looks quite firm in Australia and New Zealand over the next 3 to 4 months. Having a look at whey powder. So on the sweet whey powder, it'll be interesting to see. It's been running quite flat for the last 6 months, but with Chinese stimulus packages within their economy, we could see the pork industry thrive over there, which results in more feed coming into the country, imported into the country. So we might see a bit of a lift in sweet whey pricing and sweet whey demand. On the WPC, WPI, a similar story. Yeah, it has been very much in hot demand. WPC, its supply out of the US has been very tight, and out of the EU. So pricing at historical highs because demand is still as robust as ever. WPI, a similar story. Thanks very much for listening to today's Inside Track. I hope you have a great fortnight. Look after yourself and one another, and we'll see you again soon.